The problem with our character is that it's always walking. Doesn't matter if we move or not. It's walking. We don't need that, right? So we can use this animation blueprint to stop that, not always running. So let's just delete this. So as you know, whatever we connect to this result will be played in our character, right? With our character mesh, right? The animation. So the tools in here, the beautiful things about this animation blueprint is that this animation blueprint has some nodes that can help us with that. And the most important one is a state machine. Okay, so just search for a state machine and add new state machine, and you can see this is our state machine. So whatever that comes out of this, we can play it, right? Nothing is happening right now because we didn't initialize this state machine. First of all, let's just click on it and change the name, and I want to call this movement state machine. Okay, so whatever you want to call it, it will be okay. And notice this one, AP Murdoch, that is our animation blueprint class, and after that anim graph, because we are in anim graph. And when we double click on this state machine, it will go to this state in here, that in here you can see now we are in anim graph movement state machine. So we are in movement state machine that we just create. So this does have an entry, right? If you drag and drop from this execution pin to wherever and release it, it will give you three options. And the most important one is the state, because it is a state machine. So we add a state, and the first state, I always call it idle, okay? Idle, like this. And if we double click on this idle, just notice this. We are in animation blueprint Murdoch, anim graph, movement state machine in idle state. And you can see there is a result output animation pose in here, right? So whatever animation we put in here, it will be connected to this result at output pause in our anim graph. So let's just again double click on our state machine, go to idle, and in here in asset browser, just search for idle, okay? And this idle, we can just drag and drop it in here and connect it to output pause. So let's just save it. And if we go again in anim graph, you can see now we are feeding some animation to our character. So now if we go to our character and run it, you can see it is at the idle animation, right? But it doesn't have walk animation. Let's just do that now. So again, if you go to our state machine, there is idle in here that always play, but we can define some conditions. So for example, we can say if our character is moving, play this animation. So for example, if we drag and drop from here to here, again, we can create another state and we can call it walking. Okay, and this walking, we can double click on it again and give it an animation, walking. Okay, just search for walk, and this is for walk forward, right? So let's just do walk forward first, and if we set it in here and if we compile in here, you can see it give us a warning, and it will tell us that idle to walk in will never be taken. Please connect something to it, right? So the problem is if we go to movement state machine again in here, we didn't define a statement in here for this walking to happen. So these arrows in here, we can define a state. We can in it, we can tell it wherever our character is moving or walking, just play the walking animation. So if we double click in here, it will give us again a result node in here. And in this result, we can check if our character is moving. If it's moving, so play this walking animation, right? So right now we don't know how to do it. So I'm gonna show you a way to do it. So like in character class that we have event graph, in animation blueprint, we have event graph as well. And you can see in here, it has two nodes inside it. One of them is event blueprint update animation, and one of them try to get pawn owner. What is the pawn owner? Is our character. Why? Because in character class, if we click on our mesh, you can see we set the anim class for this mesh to be the animation blueprint that we create, right? So in here, try get pawn owner, it will get the character for us. So let's just do that. The first thing that we should do in here, we should cast this pawn, because it's just a pawn, to our own character class, that is BP third person character. No, it will give us our character. No, we have access to everything in this character class. Okay, so again, it needs execution pin, so let's just connect that to here. Use this event blueprint update animation that will happen 60 times per second or 30 times per second according to your FPS of your game. And no, with this it will give us our character. Okay, we just have our character. No, we can grab this and get the speed of our character and check if the speed is more than 0, so our character is moving or walking, right? So let's just search for a speed. Nothing we can find, right? It get the max speed, but it's not the thing that we want. With the speed, we can't find if our character is moving or not. But there is another node that is called velocity. Okay, get velocity. Okay, velocity is just a speed, right? So in here, if we go down, there should be a get velocity at bottom in here, get velocity. And what it will do, it will get the velocity for us. So if we just print this, let's just print a string in here. Okay, it will convert it to a string because this is a vector and we need to convert it to a string so we can show it in print a string. Now if we connect these to here and if we compile and run, now you can see if we move, the velocity of our character is changing, right? It's changing along the x and y axis because we are not jumping. If we jump, the z value will be changed, right? So now you can see with these values of x, y, we can find out if our character is moving or not. So let's just use that. Let's just delete this print testing. I just wanted to show you. Now with this get velocity, we get a vector that is 3 value, x, y, and z. And we can right click in here and split a strike pin. So it will give us x, y, and z value, right? So we can say if the velocity along the x-axis is more than 0, we are walking, so play that walking animation. Or we can say if the velocity along the y-axis is bigger than 0, so play that animation. But there is a better way. Let's just again right click on it and recombine it to a strike pin. And there is a pin for that, and the pin for that is vector length, and it will give us the length of our velocity where we are walking, right? So it will give us a float value. You can see this green, it means a float value. Now with this we can check if we are moving or not, but we want to save it somewhere, so we can use it in our state machine in here, right? We want to save it somewhere. So in here, in left hand corner in here, there is a category in here called variables, and in here if we hit plus in here, it will create a variable in here. Right now we need a variable that is a type of float because this is green, and if we click in here we can change the type of the variable from boolean to green or float, right? And we can change the name to a speed, okay, the speed of our character. And now with that we can set it by grab it in here and set the speed in here, okay, with this value that we calculate. No, it need the execution pin. Let's just connect this execution pin to here. Okay. Now we have the speed. So let's just compile. Again, it will give us a warning because in our state machine, we didn't define this state in here, right? So again, let's just double click on it. And in here, we can get the speed. You see, get the speed in here like this. And we can say if the speed is greater than 0, like this, if it's greater than 0, play the walking animation, right? So now if we compile, it will compile successfully. But let's just go again to movement state machine, and if you hover over this, it will tell you this walking animation will happen whenever the speed is more than nothing. It's more than 0, right? If the speed is more than 0, it will go to walking state. So let's just run our game, and if we run, you can see it is running, right? But if we release the W on our keyboard, again it's playing the walking animation and it's not stopping. So this is our first problem. So it is at the walking state, but it won't come back to idle state. And we can fix that by dragging it from here to here and add another state. And in here, double click in here, and again get the speed, and we tell it to if this is equal to 0, if the speed is equal to 0, so our player is not moving. So with that, we can connect it to here, and whenever our character is not moving or the speed is equal to nothing, or speed is equal to 0, it will go back to idle mode. Let's just compile and run, and you can see when we hold W, it will walk, and if you release W, it will stay. And you can see it is beautiful. We did the walking now. The animation is working fine, but it is sliding. It's not beautiful. It's not perfect, right? It's not cool. It's sliding. It's not perfect. So let's just fix that in the next video.